boys and girls, it's such a beautiful day outside today. I thought we'd have our Palm Sunday lesson outside. The last time we were together, we learned about the last plague, the 10th plague of Egypt. That the destroyer came and all of the firstborn of Egypt died because Pharaoh would not let the Hebrew slaves go. Well, he finally did. And that night Moses had told all the people to eat the roasted lamb and to eat the bitter herbs and to eat the unleavened bread that was flat because they didn't have time for it to rise. And so they had done that, and they had taken the blood of the lamb and painted it over their door so they were protected from the destroyer. And that night as they left Egypt for good. So now fast forward into the New Testament, and here we are. Jesus is an adult now. He has a ministry. He's performing miracles and healing people, and he's very popular at this time. And he's riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. Now you can find this story in Matthew 21, Mark 11, Luke 19, and John 12. All four Gospels have the story. So he's riding into Jerusalem, and all the people, there are many people going into Jerusalem because they're going in to celebrate, guess what? The Passover. Here, over 1,000 years later, from the first Passover meal, they are celebrating it still because God told them to, because this is how they teach their children their history lesson about the great Exodus from Egypt. So here we have Jesus. Now they think Jesus is going to become their earthly king. They don't really understand that he is God's son yet, but they are still celebrating him, and the way that they celebrate is to grab palm branches. Here's a picture of a real palm branch, and they wave them in the air, and they celebrate him going into Jerusalem. He's riding on a donkey, but not just a grown-up donkey. He's riding on the foal of a donkey. So it would be mother and child, and he's riding on the child. And in fact, 500 years before this happened, you can go back to the Old Testament and read the prophet Zechariah tells us that this very thing is going to happen, and it did. So also, we're looking at the palm branches. So why did they do that? That wasn't just a random act. If you go back to the Old Testament again, which I love the Old Testament because you can find all these answers to these, to why people do things in the Old Testament. In Leviticus chapter 23, verse 40, it says, on the first day you are to take choice fruit from the trees and palm fronds, leafy branches and poplars, and rejoice before the Lord. So they did this when they celebrated. And so here they are celebrating Jesus going into Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. Now, I thought you could act out this story. So I had some green construction paper at home, and I drew out a palm leaf, and then you can cut it out, okay? And if you don't have green paper, you can use a color crayon and make one on white paper. It works just fine. You can make different shapes like this. I cut this one out, very simple, and then take your scissors and cut it like a snowflake. Now, your palm branches may all look different, but there you go. And then you can act out the story and wave your palm branches in celebration of King Jesus. You know, we do something kind of like that when we go to ball games, and we wave pom-poms, right? To cheer on our favorite team. Well, that's what you can do this Sunday. You can celebrate King Jesus arriving into Jerusalem, and as he is going to meet with his disciples and celebrate the Passover. And so the next time we're together, we'll learn about that Passover meal that Jesus had with his disciples. So I'll see you soon.